a movement that move with a purpose.
I now live debt-free. I will never borrow again because I have stepped out of the game. I have signed out as being a citizen. I have signed out as being a citizen of my own country because I'm happy now to realise and recognise.
Hi guys, and welcome to Darkcity Radio, commonly known as Dom here, and this is probably the most diverse radio station you'll ever get. We try to talk our own truths, we're free to talk our own truths, and we have everything here from legal and lawful information, the powers that be and exposing them. Even we have crackheads that drink their own wee and say it's a remedy for their cures even though they're on crack. But tonight we've got, to me, he's a big unsung hero. The guy made a film called Meet Your Strawman. Meet Your Strawman is all about the legal fiction, the birth certificate, and how it ties you to the system. He's also made some other things, and his latest is called GMO A Go Go, which talks about everything from Monsanto and Agenda 21 and their policies and how they're bringing it in. So, would you like to say hi to everyone, Kirk, and tell everybody a little bit of your background, how you got into this sort of information?
Hello, mate. Hello. Thanks for kind of asking me to come on. It's really good to talk to you. It's actually the voiceover artist that put me kind of onto you and said you should kind of reach out to this bloke. How I kind of started to get into the...
Yeah, what actually got you to find out about this legal fiction, or basically probably the best place to start on this is explain to people what Meet Your Strawman is all about and how that documentary came about.
Well, I saw John Harris talk. I think it's about 4.5 hours, where I think it was at Stoke-on-Trent, and it's a really long YouTube video, and I found it completely fascinating. And I thought, God, you know, what is some of this really true? Can this actually be real? And and I thought, yeah, it could be, couldn't it? It actually could be. And I was trying to explain it to people, and it was really difficult, you know. And I thought, well, I need a kind of condensed version of this, you know, something that's like 5 minutes. It gives you the flavour of it, and then people can kind of look into it themselves. And at the time, I was playing a video game called BioShock, and throughout the game, they had these tiny little kind of 10-second segments of this 1950s kind of black and white cartoon. And I saw that, and I thought, that's the format. That's what it is.
I do know BioShock. It's
yeah, you know those little things where they show you how to use the plasmids, like this is a power up in the game.
Yeah, so it's a third-person shoot 'em up in an underwater Orwellian state, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Carry on.
And so I thought that's the format, that 1950s kind of US propaganda, you know, the public information film. And I started looking at 1950s films. I saw this really horrible film called Boys Beware, and it was about these. It was a really nasty kind of film about how predatory gay men go around just killing kind of boys. Right, this is how they saw things in the 50s, and it had all this kind of really lovely jolly music in the background. It was really kind of 1950s. So I thought, yeah, that's the format. That's what we need. So I spoke to somebody at work and said, look, I want to do this. I've written this out. I've condensed it all, and I just put a little ad on artsjobs.com. I said I need an animator, a voiceover artist, a sound person to do sound effects, and I found all of them, and I couldn't believe it, you know. And you've seen the quality of it, you know. And I found really good people that did it for free, and we all worked together, and then we went on to do a couple more.
Yeah, like Meet Your Strawman is only like 5 minutes long, and it's extremely well made. It touches all the points, and it's done in a cartoon format, which anyone can resonate with. I've been sitting there watching it with 9-10-year-olds, and there's one 11-year-old that I know, and he really knows his stuff on this.
Really?
And yeah, it's like people are really getting up to speed with what's going on in the world and how they've enslaved everybody to this system. And the way I see it, it's the veils of illusion are coming down, the curtains are coming down, and everybody's having a peek in, and the powers that be are seeing this.
Well, things are getting so bad now. I mean, you know, people people are kind of like, what the hell's going on? I mean, I think the latest atrocity is the bedroom tax thing. I mean, it's disgusting. Meantime, they're kind of giving themselves, pay rises. The kind of MPs, that they vote for themselves without any kind of real oversight. And it is the poorer people. The poorer people are being screwed and screwed and screwed and screwed. And it's like it's almost like a culling. People can't kind of eat properly. They can't heat their homes properly. And it's disgusting. And we're still kind of hearing stuff about the MP's expenses. I mean, I think the woman that was on that TV show when they're going to the jungle, she's just been investigated now, hasn't she?
Well, I don't know about that. What's that then?
What's the show when they're going to the jungle? I don't watch a lot of TV.
I'm a pleb. Get me out of here.
That's the one. Yeah. I'm an attention-seeking, addle-brained whore. Get me out of here.
I'm an egotistical narcissist.
Yeah. Are we allowed to swear on here?
You can do whatever you like. I've been allowed to roam free as I like on this channel. This is why I've enjoyed it so much.
All right, I don't want to break the rules and kind of upset
the rules.
The rules, yeah.
And that's what it's all about, is the body of rules. But carry on. Like we're on the bedroom tax now. The governments are implementing so much at the moment to put fear into people and to control them even more. And I don't know too much about this bedroom tax. All I know is that what they've done is they've said in the mainstream media what they're thinking of doing is anyone with a spare bedroom has to let the councils know and rent it out or be charged for the empty bedroom. Is that right?
Yeah. So if you're on benefits or if you're receiving some kind of benefit, if you've got a 2-bedroom house and you're just a single person on your own, you either rent the room and or you kind of forfeit some of that benefit. I mean, the benefit is meager anyway, and it's a kind of a fraction of what you pay when you're working in tax. You get nothing back really. I mean, I think it's disgusting when you've got these MPs, being caught time and time again with their second homes and kind of, paying for their second homes or having their, staying with their sister and kind of claiming it as a second home or a member of the family, fiddling expenses basically. But on the other hand, they will screw people into the ground, and that is really what is being done now. And then you've got Buckingham Palace with about 240 bedrooms, 230 bedrooms, a lot of free occupancy there. And I don't think they'll be getting any kind of bedroom tax for that, will they?
Oh, why does everyone start on old Lizzie?
I know.
She has it hard.
Yeah, she's a nice old lady. She's good for tourism, let's not forget that.
Yeah, well, we could put her in a big glass box then and we could all stare at her, I suppose.
God, that's such a moronic argument, isn't it? I mean, if you ever kind of bring up anything about the royal family, it's like, oh, well, they're good for tourism. I mean, luckily, my dad, brought us up that we never really liked the royal family. We never really kind of were into football or anything like that. And I think that kind of gives you a little bit of advantage in terms of looking at the system and what's going on. Do you know what I mean? You're not kind of running with a herd on everything.
And this is one thing, like, I want to touch on before we go back to Meet Your Strawman. But within the media at the moment, and they're putting all these stories out there, and this is one thing I talked to you about the other night, was this horse meat scandal. And everybody is just ranting and raving and going, oh, well, it's like we can't have horse meat in our food. This is disgusting, blah, 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 blah. Well, I personally don't see the difference between horse or cow, but that's not what the problem is for me. When stories go into the mainstream media and they're controlled by the powers that be, then there's got to be an underlying story. So I've been picking up the newspaper over the past week and looking at all these horse meat stories, and it seems like everyone's protesting about these stores that are doing it. But to me, if you read in between the lines, you've got... they're all saying, well, this has got to stop. We can't have horse meat going in our food. So the FDA, the Food Directive Agency?
No, here it's the Food Standards Agency. In America, it's the FDA.
So it's the FSA. So they're saying,
FSA.
okay, so they're saying that they need to tighten up their grip and make sure that all the food and everything comes into the proper regulations and under the certain guidelines. Can anybody smell a rat yet? Because this smells like Agenda 21 and Codex Alimentarius all mixed into one to me.
Well, the Codex Alimentarius kind of part of that is actually run in this country through the FSA. So the FSA kind of oversee Codex Alimentarius in this country.
Well, that
Funnily
really does.
enough.
Well, go on, carry on. What you saying? Funny enough.
Yeah, no. Funnily enough, they're not only are they kind of saying, well, we need to sort out this basically problem reaction solution, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always.
So we've got this big drama, big horse meat thing, and then at the same time they're also kind of running Codex Alimentarius. The thing is, though, it's been very quiet about that. There has not been a lot of kind of noise about it like there was a while ago, and and about the precautionary principle and that kind of stuff. Where everything's deemed unhealthy until it's been kind of rigorously tested, and the testing costs thousands of thousands, and you have to jump through all these hoops. It'll be really good for big pharma and really easy for big pharma and big biotech companies, but for smaller companies that want to kind of bring out healthy kind of non-chemical, non-toxic alternatives for kind of health, they won't be able to afford to kind of meet these guidelines. So a nice little control system.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to, rather than jumping off the subject of Meet Your Straw Man. Okay. And as I said, it's one of the best little info documentaries I've ever seen on this legal information that's flying about.
Oh,
and well, that's the thing. Like when you said about radio, and we was going to sort it out on Wednesday, but I was so run down I couldn't do it anyway. And
yep.
you contacted me and said you was nervous, and I had to admit to you that I was nervous talking to you because I see you as one of the. Huh?
I can't believe that.
Well, the thing is, it's like you're one of these unsung heroes. I've been speaking to a couple of people lately that people don't hear of these names, and you've definitely heard of them because I know you was talking of Thomas Anderson the other night. And we'll go into him in a minute. But okay. On your film, Meet Your Straw Man, it's sort of ties... People tie it into the Free Man on the Land information. And that's where you've got it from yourself with John Harris. And I've always been tied in with the Free Man on the Land information, but I've never, ever claimed to be a Free Man on the Land because I've watched many of these court cases, and I don't think that process is doing much people any good. In fact, it's getting people's cars taken off them, it's getting them put in prison, and then like when they come out of prison, because like all the other free men think, well, you're standing up to the system, they give them a rub on the back and say, well done, and it's a bit of an ego rub, and they carry on doing it and promoting this process, even though it's failed 99% of the time. The only times it does work is when it confuses the courtroom and they have no evidence to carry on anyway. But there is remedy in that, and I had to look over your Meet the Straw Man, and I can't fault it because what it's stating is about the birth certificate, the name, the registration of this, and how that system of commerce all ties towards the name. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't say anything about this is what you need to do to get away from the system. Like the Freemanism says, right, if you serve a notice of intent and a claim of right and you do this and that, and then like they won't be able to touch you because you're sovereign, and it couldn't be further from the truth. But what you're doing is handing out the true information, saying this is how they've got you, boys.
Yeah. Well, we didn't want to kind of say, that you should do this, you shouldn't do that, this is how you do it. It was just to give the flavour of kind of what we've been looking at and hearing about, and it wasn't. We kind of read a lot and looked at a lot of stuff, and it kind of it just kind of really resonated with us. It was very, very, and it answered a lot of questions. And just about kind of life in general and the whole system and the whole treadmill of everything. It just seemed to resonate with me and the others involved very strongly. And we thought, bloody hell, this is, this is really interesting. And that's what drove us all to kind of, once we kind of hooked up. And I put an ad out for an animator, and I kind of gingerly said, should be interested in conspiracy theories. And the guy that came back was not only a fantastic animator, and he's a mate of mine now, and I've known him for nearly 3 years. He was on the forums of TPUC and other sites, the kind of we all know, like David Icke and things like that. So he didn't need kind of any real introduction to it. Now, what are the chances of that? So I put an advert out, and I find somebody who's not only really good, but was also already informed. And the same with the voice actor, Paul Burchard. He was on the forums of TPUC. So, there are people out there that can do this, and other people could do it too.
Well, this is the shocking thing. I think a lot of people are in exactly the same boat as yourself, or the same mindset, I should say, because people don't realise how many people they've got around them that are looking into this information, because they're all inside their buildings, close their doors, they get online, and now they've got their own little world, rather than finding out who knows what around them in their own local community. Like, for instance, I've got a friend who we've had some court cases and bailiff issues over the last few weeks, and we've been dealing with them quite well. And he lives in a certain area of London, but somebody else contacted me and they wanted to start up meetings, and he literally lives 100 metres away from my friend. And other people in London, they're like, I don't know anyone around me. So I'm going to group all these people up in London, and yourself, you're in London. So the thing is, I'm going to start up these free meetings, and I want to start them up in little towns here, there and everywhere. And I'll promote them for anyone if they do free meetings looking for solutions, as long as it's peaceful and about non-compliance and truly looking for solutions, rather than joining up to set up some kind of a protest or a movement that can fall apart when it gets infiltrated and things like this. Because I don't believe in movements. What I have more faith in than a movement is myself and yourself, and each one of us are our own heroes writing our own story, is the way I see it.
Yeah, and that sounds like a great idea as well, to kind of, rather than, I mean, this is the thing, right? Rather than kind of, screaming at people through a megaphone or poking them in the face and saying, hey, you lazy fucker, get up, and, you're just wishing your life away. And, like I have seen, with people just shouting at people, that won't help at all. That won't get them off their ass. It won't help them wake up. But if you've got something where you can just put it in front of them and say, look, what do you think of this? Right? And it's not screaming at them or demanding that they take action. They might not react straight away. They might, think, actually, I want to look into this in a while. Or they might think, I already know about this. I've felt that. I kind of believe it because I felt that's how things are. And then, so meeting people locally, there'll be loads of people that feel the same. With what's going on at the moment, there'll be loads of interesting people around you. And I think that's a great idea. So rather than screaming at people or bullying them or pushing them, actually kind of get something together and empower people. And I kind of hate that word, really. It's a bit of a management word. But you know what I mean, get kind of grow a little community,
I do know where you're coming from, and like what you were saying, by you found people that wanted to do this that were already keyed up on it, and it's much the same. I got in contact with this one guy and another guy and another guy, and everyone in our own little community has got a little thing to offer. And one guy's got a venue sorted out, and he was like, "What do you need? And what's this?" And the other guy's got this, and it's like, I'm guilty of standing on stage and doing talks, and guilty of holding a megaphone every now and again. But each time I've done it, and even when I hold a camera, which I'm known to do quite a lot, I'm not actually feeling natural, because I like to do all my stuff off the cuff and in the moment. But if you're doing stuff on stage and in front of an audience, it's not really off the cuff. It's all staged, is the word, pardon the pun. And when you're on a megaphone, you create another type of stage. But if you can have gatherings of people sitting down and you're all on the same level, having a cup of tea and a chat over the situations in the world, then we can actually truly find our own communal solutions, rather than looking at changing this big system of corruption. Because I don't think any of us are going to take down this huge system of corruption. It's just everything that you do to fight it gives it energy.
Yeah, and you have to. I think you have to be really careful as well when you engage with it. I mean, in a way like you are, and that talk you did with Ceylon the other day was great. I've listened to it like 2 or 3 times, and Paul the animator has as well. And you need to be kind of confident, and you need to be kind of well informed, and you know just kind of picking up information and marching in with bravado won't do it. And uh, getting a community together, people together that can do that is good. I mean, I've seen stuff online where things have just erupted in absolute chaos, kind of real chaos. And I'm not having a go at anyone, that uses a megaphone or anything like that either. Personally, it doesn't kind of really work for me. I was coming out. I mean, I work, and I was kind of on the way home. I had to go down in the tube, and I don't particularly like using public transport really, especially in rush hour. And somebody from the Love Police, you know about them?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, was having a go at me. I'm walking down, and he's looking right at me, saying, you fucking robot, go. And I was like, hang on a minute, mate. I kind of know all about this, and I am doing something in my own little way. And I just thought, well, what are you doing? You're just standing there having a go at everyone and slagging everyone off, and you haven't got a clue. And that's the thing about the Love Police or megaphones, that kind of it's too kind of general, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, well, the thing is, they gave themselves that public stage, and I actually, when I first saw the Love Police, I loved what they were doing, and it inspired me to go out there and do my style of activism, let's call it, but I don't like calling it that. And the thing is that Charlie set himself up to fall, really, by going on the BBC and having that turnaround and everything like that.
Well,
Sorry. I was just going to say, it's ironic that they shout at other people saying, well, you're not awake, we are, when you don't know who you're shouting at. You truly don't.
No.
So what was you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, what's his name? Charlie Thingy Veach, is it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. I kind of didn't trust him at all from the minute I saw him. And then I saw that he was is it Ian Tomlinson, the guy that got killed by the police? The police murdered him.
That's right, the G20.
And then did a fake autopsy or did a kind of a dodgy autopsy, and the guy that did it, the coroner, was later kind of kicked out or disbarred or whatever they are as coroners. And his family got an independent autopsy done, didn't they? And it found that it had been due to the violence that he'd kind of got from the police. But Charlie Veach was on video there, and he was at the protest earlier, and then he was dressed in a suit talking to the BBC on the news. Have you seen that video?
Well, that's the thing, and it came out not so long ago, that little tie to it, and I've had my own personal things with Charlie, which I'd love to address with him in a public arena on air. Hopefully he will do one day. But the funny thing is, Charlie's got like this internet troll on his arse. He calls himself Holographic, is it Sentence? I think it is. Oh, much love to the man if he's listening, and I know he is, because he always drags himself through 2 hours of one of my shows and then moans about it at some point. He's a great guy. I actually agree with quite a lot of his views, and he's been trolling me and Charlie for quite some time, doing videos. He done an absolutely awesome one on me recently, and he called it Low Hands Run. And I rechanged it and put it up on my channel and called it Meet a New Kind of Hero, because he's just ripping the arse out of me, saying that I'm like a new type of hero in a succession of silly hats, from the top of a double-decker bus to the psyop that was known as Occupy. His name is... No, he says he can't even remember his name, but his name is The Dominator. And it's just like... made me wet myself crying. And
I'd like to see that. So he's not a fan of the free man movement or anything like that, then.
Well, the funny thing is, he has a go at all. He calls everybody a conspiracy nut.
Right.
I don't think he's truly looked into this legal system and how it does tie you to every single bill, or what you think is your driving license, your car, your mortgage, the name. It's a hard one for him to grasp, I think. But The thing is, he hit my channel, and I've got a very good way of dealing with trolls and how they come at me. I'll give them a little poke every now and again, and then they'll run off advertising for me, is the way I see it. Mm-hmm. And with this guy, he was on my channel one day, and he was just slaughtering it with comments. And then, like, I got him in a debate on one of the comments, which was about vaccines. And he was saying vaccines are good and all the rest of it. And I knew he would bite, and I knew he would make a video, and he did make a video. And as soon as he made that video, I just took it and put it into all these vaccine rooms on Facebook and other rooms online. So everybody went in there and started hitting him with, like, what their opinions of the truth were. And it really slowed him down on my channel. And I was like, thank you so much. You know what I mean? I love your videos. I love your opinions. But when you're hitting my channel with, like, loads and loads of comments, I blocked him before. And I unblocked him because I thought your views are quite valid. You're not like a horrible, nasty, vindictive, delusional troll that will sit there and just attack you even on your personal level. He will actually try and have a debate with you. And he's very good with it, and I like that. But don't troll too much.
That's unusual on the internet, isn't it? I mean, you know, and the other thing is, that could be like an 11-year-old school kid. You know, you don't know, you know, who you're kind of dealing with on kind of YouTube messages and stuff like that, really, do you? So, I mean, I try not to do it. We get a lot of stuff on our channel, you know, on the Informatic Films channel on YouTube. And be like, oh, well, if you kill somebody, then your straw man goes to prison. And we get kind of comments like that, you know, which has missed the flavour of the... Yeah, and you know, we just say, well, great, thanks very much. It's always nice to hear from a fan, but, yeah.
Well, it's going to be the same old. So have you been attacked much by doing this?
No.
No, because like, I think your one is pretty damn clean cut. And once again, as I said, you're an unsung hero, which is a really good thing. Myself, I'll put myself right on the front line, really. I know I've got a front row seat on this conspiracy circle, and I've been enjoying it. So I've been putting my head above the parapet and really speaking my views in volumes. And this is through people like yourself. You've put information out there that empowers people. As you say, you don't like that word, but that's what it truly does to people. You've done a really good job with that.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom. Well, we all have. I mean, not just me, you know, all the people kind of that were kind of working on it. I mean, it takes, for 1 minute, it takes a month to kind of produce, you know, and that's with a voice artist, the animator, me, the sound guy, you know, and all the kind of web infrastructure stuff. So, yeah, and we've all got day jobs, and we do it in our spare time, and it's a way of doing it. And we've done 3 films now, and I said to Paul the other day, you know, do you realise, Paul, you're an activist? And he seemed a bit uneasy, but well, you are an activist. You put so much of your time into doing this stuff. You know,
probably the best way to put that is you are seen to be an activist, because that's how the police would say it. They'd have all of us laid off.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's like if you're like a cartoonist, which could be seen to be a terrorist. You know what I mean? Whatever next. But I forgot where I was going to go with that. I was going to go back to the chat room, because like there's somebody in there and he keeps on throwing loads of comments in on what you brought up on Charlie Veitch and being the front line of a protest with a megaphone, saying who let the dogs out on your megaphone, and then being on RT News, admitting to being at the front there, blah blah blah, but not actually admitting to being there at St Paul's a few hours later, dressed up in a suit, saying that he was a drunken bum with tattoos up his arm and the police were good and they didn't do anything wrong. It's just like... Yeah,
when I watched that, Dom, to be honest, my stomach went over. I just thought, oh my God, this is really kind of sick. And he, I think in the video, and I could be wrong, but it was on the BBC, and he seemed so kind of sycophantic, you know, like desperate to be on TV and to have the cameras on him to kind of get the attention. You know, it was almost kind of jiggling with excitement, and that's kind of what I sensed it as. And he was just being kind of a little suck up, really, and saying, yeah, this guy was terrible. He looked drunk. His eyes looked funny. And a comment about the the Who Let the Dogs Out, I heard somewhere that it was actually him that shouted that out, and then he made a comment about it on the
Yes,
when he was dressed up in a
there was
suit.
somebody there with a megaphone when it's actually him.
Yeah. What's that about?
Well, I actually, this is the thing, and he knows that I will address this with him in public one day. But the thing is, I actually said at the time, this was about Occupy as well, because he turned up to Occupy with some very suspect people who I've been naming in the past, and he's connected with them anyway. So he turned up with his big camera and the guy that strangled me as well at Occupy, the ex-cop, Mark Edwards, and I don't mind saying his name on live air. But like the thing is, he's turned up there and he's got all this footage, and my mates were making a film, and I asked him for the footage, and he said, yeah, not a problem, but he never did like hand it over. But then when I asked him for it later on, he said, well, the reason I got rid of that footage was because I didn't see anything untowards that day. And it was like, but Charlie, you know what I mean? We've proved beyond reasonable doubt that you've got common purpose, i.e. Saskia Kent doing the General Assemblies. You've got the Tavistock Institute, who do mind control, they're the world's leading social engineers, the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations. And you've got them guys doing social dreaming events at Occupy. On top of that,
social dreaming?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
You'll get one of their assessors or facilitators, let's say.
Oh. Now this sounds like Logan's Run, you know. And do they take you to Carousel later on? I mean,
well, the thing is, they've got this little geodome down at Occupy at Finsbury Square, and it had all these twisty, twirly patterns and all the rest of it, bright colours, and it was like, I swear it was the dome of mind control. It was like something else going on in there. It was like the Tavistock hub of Occupy. And you had all these psychoanalysis type people in there, going in there and giving hugs and chanting and getting people in a certain mindset and then dealing with them. And what it is, they're saying to them, right, so tell us what your dreams are. And within that, they're dropping all NLP and anchors and the rest of it and sucking information out of them. Now, you've got to think that the Tavistock Institute are one of the world's leading think tanks, and they go and suck all this information out of you. Now, why are they at every Occupy? Why are they involved in this? Why have you got Common Purpose there, which do social engineering on a mass scale? Why have you
profiling?
Well, this is it. And I've predicted that protesting is going to be very, very big this year, and it's looking that way. You've just had a big thing in Belgium. It's all kicked off over there. And this is exactly what the powers that be need. They want people to rise up and protest so they can take you all to court and take more of these perceived rights off of the so-called citizens.
Or introduce more statutes to kind of limit as well.
You know what I mean? There's not many more statutes that they could really... Well, they could think up millions more, and that's what they'll do. They won't do it all in one big hit. People are going, oh, there's going to be like a big world war, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. They'll just do it bit by bit. That's what they've been doing for thousands of years. That's how they've got this control over. And I got picked up on using the word humanity earlier, but I didn't rebut it. He didn't like it because of the word human, and hue means colour, and it's the colour of man, it's fiction. But human come from humanity, and humanity is like being taken away from us through this system, whether it would be the concrete realm, Tesco's. People are, and I'll say this time and time again, people go into these shops in a zombie-type state. They're already, they spend millions on the design of these shops, putting stuff in certain places on left-hand side, right-hand side, certain colour labels. This is all mind control, what they're doing.
The lighting, the kind of background music. And
yeah, I've said to people, I've gone... there's many people out there that will say, oh, well, I couldn't get mind controlled. Really? Because like, I can put money on it that like 99% of us have gone to shops just wanting something inane like a loaf of bread or a pint of milk and come out with a basket load of crap. And it's like, we're all guilty of that. So that's mind control. And Darren Brown, I love Darren Brown.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. It's like when I first watched him, I was actually actually shit scared. It was like, what the hell is he doing? And I knew about NLP when I was watching it, but he really fine-tuned it and put it into a style of entertainment. And there's only one thing that's ever really scared me more than Darren Brown on TV, and that was the Teletubbies. When I first saw them, it made me go, what is going on?
Yeah, they were weird, weren't they? They were really kind of weird and scary in the whole language. I remember once watching, I mean, talking about kind of control and programming, a friend of mine had a baby, yeah, like a lot of people do, they kind of plonk them in front of the telly and keep them quiet that way. And I watched this kid, and it was when the Teletubbies first started, and I watched the kid just suddenly become mesmerized and fixed in on the Teletubbies. And I thought, what is it about that? You know, I know it's like, to us, it's like, you know, colourful, silly language, but I think there's a lot more behind it. I think there's a real kind of engineering of, information there and kind of capturing just the way it caught the kid. It just really kind of shocked me. I've never seen that before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think they're tapping into absolutely everything, though. Not just if we look at it, right? We know that these elites sit there and they manipulate every angle of everybody's life, and the people that go around calling people like sheeple or whatever, it's not that way. We're all in the same boat. How do you know that your truth hasn't been written for you by these elites? Because they're very clever at what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's ancient knowledge, isn't it? And like you said, I've been doing it for hundreds and hundreds of years and perfecting it. And, with the years of kind of technology now and the control. I mean, that video that you did, where you were kind of helping that guy keep his car. At the end, I mean, the bailiff in it was very nice. And but when he talked about the technology on the van, they've got 4 cameras in each corner, and as they drive along, they're scanning number plates, and if they're on the road, then they can take it. How do you kind of fight back against that? Even if you understand like the words and the spell and everything, and that's only going to get worse.
Well, it might be interesting to look up what we are allowed to do to these public servants by requesting them to identify themselves and things like that. And then maybe we should start pulling them over and going, come on, guys, what's going on here? Well, then again, that's what I do. I literally go up to them and say, what's going on in the world? You're enforcing all these rules that you don't even know what they are. It's crazy. And when you're talking to them, and there is this program that they're programmed to do, and it once again takes the humanity away from them. So they carry on doing this job, the program, by just complying to their illusionary authority above them. It's actually quite sickening, but I enjoy what I do. But we went right off the script when I was talking about Darren Brown, and there isn't a script actually. I was just wanting to stay on subject about Darren Brown. Yeah, he done a thing in a supermarket where he went in and he played a message over the tannoy for a good 45 minutes or something like that. So he said, right now there's the right number of people that have been in the store for a certain amount of time that would have heard that over and over. And it was dropping anchors of raise up, blah, blah, blah. And it was all about sales and the rest. And people are just ignoring it. It's going into their consciousness. And then at a certain point, he goes, it's about time to go live. And he went over the banister with his microphone and he said a few things. And at exactly the same point, everyone's put their hand up in the air, gone vroomp, and put their hand up. And they're all looking at each other going, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's scary.
And this is the thing, if you go into a supermarket and you look at people, they're holding on to these trolleys and they're in a zombie-type state because this is how it is programmed to get people in. And this is exactly the same within the truth movements. You've got people out there that are selling truths, and it's exactly the same propaganda that they sell, but it's to truthers rather than the other people that are stuck in the system as well. Because truthers, you're stuck too. This is it. We're all just trying to look for the solution. And
Yeah. I mean, there's levels of it, isn't there? People, like you say, referring to other people as sheeple and stuff like that. Well, you're not free if you're still kind of paying a mortgage and doing all that kind of paying tax, doing all that kind of stuff. So you're in the same situation. I think it's a little bit disingenuous to kind of do that to people. And as Paul, kind of the voiceover guy, he said that people need a bit of love and compassion. If they're not ready, then they're not ready. But kind of standing around and calling them kind of robots and wankers through a megaphone as they're going home from work, I don't know, is not the way really to help them. Or to kind of get them on your side.
But then again, well, we need all angles of this because we're all part of it, whatever it may be. And for me, I like to look back at what's happened and where does information come from. And this is a subject we were touching on the other night. Bearing in mind, everyone, Kirk got in contact with me, and we never spoke to each other before. The thing is, some people... they contact me, and because I don't answer them back within a certain time, they really do get moody with me. And the thing is, I'm not ignoring people. It's just I've got hundreds of messages to deal with. Kirk's somebody that I really wanted to talk to, and it took us we were supposed to meet up, and we didn't meet up.
Yeah.
And there was about 5 days on the trot that we didn't actually get to talk to each other.
I know. I just for a while, and you probably thought. I just thought, oh, I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, we were like, shits in the night, weren't we, Dom? Just kind of missing each other all the time. And can I just go back to what you were saying about Darren Brown, though? Another thing that really kind of frightened me in a way was, did you see the one with the religious experience where he gets this complete atheist woman and gives her a religious experience, and he kind of does it all with NLP, gesturing with his hands, and he says, I'm just going to leave you here for a minute, and they're in a church, and he walks off. The camera stays on her, and then she just, about 5 minutes after he leaves, has this breakdown and has this full-on religious experience, and I just thought, oh my God, that is really, really scary. That, if people are really that easy, if her fundamental belief is atheism, and he can, in a day or two, give her a full-on religious experience where she's breaking down and crying, what does that say about us? Well,
it is. That's touched a subject that is very dear and close to me. At Occupy, when I was down there heavily exposing it, I was tweeted somehow by Darren Brown. I think it was by somebody tagging, and it went via his tweet. And what the comment was that I said, it feels like you're living with 10 Darren Browns at Occupy. There's so much mind manipulation going on. And then I started going on Darren Brown's Facebook page, because I like going on Darren Brown, the lottery, the National Lottery, and drop get out of debt free information. I like to go on McDonald's, and in fact, I've been on McDonald's today, and I posted on there a movie called GMO A Go Go, and I think they're going to love that. But then again, they do take it down. But what I've learned is, if you spam the group, you'll get reported and thrown off or blocked. So at the moment, I'm blocked from adding friends and sending messages to people that are not my friends. But with posting on there, if you post just one comment a day and post it on a thread where they've got at the moment, there's one EastEnders one which has got 14,000 comments, which is just at the top. And if you just post one comment on there, then all these people are going to see this quite quickly. Some of them are going to look at it. This is people that you're not preaching to the converted. You're actually getting to people that need to know this stuff, or just need a little seed planted as such.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way. That's a nice way to do it, rather than spamming and kind of hassling. Just kind of dropping stuff in, is quite a nice way to kind of get a few people to look at it, and then they might go on and tell a few other people. It's getting the information out and motivating people to pass it on. You don't always have to kind of really push them.
So after Darren Brown was tweeting and the rest of it, and I've gone onto his page, I started posting stuff on there, and last year at Off Grid Festival, I interviewed a guy called David Shaler on stage there. Yeah, and he's for people that don't know, David Shaler is well, I don't know how you want to put this, but he's an MI5 agent, ex MI5 agent. He blew the whistle on the plot to kill Colonel Gaddafi. Now, he says he was put in voluntary exile, whatever that means, and he spent a couple of months in France, a couple of months in Belmarsh. So I said to him, well, what deal did you make with the MI5 to be allowed back? Because if you blow the whistle, that's breaking the Trade Secrets Act. And they've got you in exile. They kill people like you if you blow the whistle. He goes, well, I've had attempts on my life. Are we talking about the MI5 and the MI6? They don't make attempts. They
just do it. They get it done.
So he's in the truth circuits, and he claims to be Jesus.
What?
He says, I'm the Messiah.
Are you being serious?
Yeah. He dresses as a woman and claims to be the Messiah and says 9/11's an inside job.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I just... When you say he dresses as a woman and claims to be the Messiah, I just thought of the life of Brian. You know, it just sounds like he's a very naughty boy. You know?
I'll tell you what, it actually does feel like living a Monty Python sketch my life most of the time. But when you meet David Shaler and this is going on, and you're having to live with people like this, you're actually starting to question who's writing what. So anyway, I'm interviewing David at Off Grid, and I've said to him, well, how do you know that you haven't been tapped up in the head by one of these mind control experts when you know they're quite capable of doing that to give you a spiritual experience? And he goes, well, no. He said, well, no, because I've had a spiritual experience. I said, well, how do you know they haven't given you that spiritual experience? He goes, well, you can't have that, blah, 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 blah. So after that, when I put it up onto my YouTube channel, I sort of copied and pasted it and tagged Darren Brown in it on his page, and it was the first time he ever took anything of mine off his page. And then, like, he done that spirituality one. So is that synchronicity or what? Or have they just blatantly looked at that and gone, Darren, can you do this?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I mean, the whole thing, you know, if it is kind of given to you, you know, or by a suggestion or by whatever, you know, you feel it and it feels real because you're experiencing it locally, and you're not going to give up on that, because to give up on that and say, well, actually, yeah, it could have come from an external source, it is kind of to give up on a lot of fundamental stuff about your own being, your own self. So people, you know, you wouldn't let go of that, would you? Kind of easily. It'd be a hard thing to admit that, yeah, those experiences can be given to you externally through suggestion or by, you know, microwave or magnetics or whatever kind of things I've heard about. You know, I don't know how much truth there is in any of that, but there are definitely ways to manipulate the human kind of experience, not consciousness, but the body. You know, the body can be kind of manipulated.
Well, this is the whole thing that I've addressed myself. It's not just everyone else I scrutinise, guys, and you know I do. I look into everyone's life that's trying to put information out there and look at the angles and where it comes from and why and motives, because that's what I want to do. I want people to find their own truths, and if people are selling lies out there, then I want to know about it. But
can I ask you a question, Dom?
You can, yeah.
What's your goal then? Where would you? So if you kind of had an ideal kind of setup, and what would you like to do, achieve, and where would you like to be with what you do?
There's quite a few answers I could give for that, but like I've already achieving what I've achieved to do, and that is to live. But like I recognise this corruption, this corrupt system, and they know I recognise the corruption. I just want that system to leave me alone as such, and yeah. But then again, I'm exposing it for what it is, so I've got to take the rough with the smooth. And I don't know what I really want to achieve in life in general. I just want to be me. I don't want to see people stuck in this society, this covert slavery. But then again, there's people that the closest people that are in my life that are not in my life have said to me, "Yeah, but you're not making a change." And
I think you are.
Well, this is the whole thing. I know for a fact I am, but because emotions and things are so close and other things in life, I don't want to start arguments with people that have got very, very strong beliefs that there isn't a system of slavery. There's certain people that you don't want to break down in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, basically what I'm talking about is I haven't been in my daughter's life. Well, I've seen her once in 5 years. Still talk to her, and she's cut up at what I do. You know what I mean? I've not been in her life, and she just can't see me making any change in the world. And if I was in her life doing what I've done, then like for sure. And as we know by many people that we do know, that they get there. I've got a close friend in Kent. Actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention him, so I won't. But he had grandkids taken away from the family, and these are great people. And this only happens because people are doing this stuff, and they will attack you from every kind of angle that they can, and they will take everything that you think that you own from you until you're broken to pieces. That's why I can do what I can do, because I don't claim to own anything. In fact, I don't own anything. And what can you take from somebody, or what has somebody got to lose if they've got nothing? You know what I mean? It's like, it's easy for me, and it's very enjoyable, but I don't go out there and tell people, well, this is what you got to do to go and get remedy. This is what I've done to get remedy, and it's going to work for me. But it's, I think we've got a question coming actually from
Holographic. Oh, this is your friend, I think, isn't it?
Are employed by private companies to spread deception. The guy that made the Dom videos.
Is this the guy you were telling me about? That's your favourite kind of troll?
Yeah, that's not holographic. That's definitely not holographic saying that, because he's more educated. He's
more kind of articulate, is he? He's a bit more articulate.
Yeah, he's got you know what I mean, common sense, and he's a good bloke in his heart, I reckon. But the thing is, this guy's actually saying in the room all kinds of daft things like paedophile. So we've got a troll tonight, actually. So you know you're making an impact when you've got idiots
attacking you.
Well, that's it. That's part of the fun of it. Anyway, we've been talking for nearly an hour now, and we haven't even touched on your new film.
GMO A Go Go.
GMO A Go Go. Yeah, I think I've only watched that. How long's it been out? Because I think I've only watched it about 5 times.
3 weeks. Yeah, just over 3 weeks now.
Yeah, 3 weeks. This GMO A Go Go. It's a brilliant film, and this is another thing that I've loved about what you've done is you've put your videos out there, and you've said please feel free to copy, re-upload, put this video anywhere, no charge, as long as there's no charge and nothing's cut and it's done as the way it is.
Yeah, I really don't like it, and it actually really pisses me off when we work for a year on something. Not just me, but you know, the sound guys, the voice guy, the artist, and all the people kind of involved. We work for a year on something, give it away for free. We put a HD version up there, and people rip it off of YouTube so it looks like a piece of crap, and they cut off the credits. So nobody knows where to get another version of it. So that's why we put that on there, just saying, look, keep it intact, so other people know where they can get their own copy and spread the information. Yeah. So I mean, there's a version of Meet Your Strawman that's had over 600,000 views, and we're probably 700,000 now, and it looks like a piece of crap. It looks awful. All the credits are off of it, and you know, what a waste from our point of view. You know, 600, 700,000 people, they could have got their own copy in HD. Anyway,
Do you know what? It's
just having a little moan there.
Well, no, it's really strange to say that, because I have noticed certain views on certain videos, and it's like, this doesn't make sense, because the real, sometimes the real information that's smack bang in your face sometimes doesn't get hit at all. But like, there's some really good stuff coming out at the moment, and there's a really good one called it's something like the People versus the Banks, which is a really good bailiff video where bailiffs turn up and he shows them the Criminal Law Act. There's other kinds of things that they produce within that. On the bailiff C96 form, it states this and that, and he actually gets it down with facts. It's, if you want to watch it, go and watch the People versus Banks.
Oh, is that the one? Is that the one where there's that very tall kind of Liverpudlian guy, and they're taking on these really abusive bailiffs who are coming to the house? I think so. I think they mentioned the Bird family. Is that that video?
Yeah. It's it is really, really good. But like, once again, it's like this stuff goes out there, and at first it went out there with not the full truth on it, that they got evicted not long after that video was done, and they videoed that. But like, what they should have done, well, the thing is, they put that out, but they should put up the video as well of the eviction to show how or what they'll do in them sort of situations. Unless if they're holding it back because like this is evidence purposes, blah blah blah, then that could be a good reason for it. But like, you never know. But it would be nice for them to have put an explanation on it. Like, I said that straight away, and instantly the big chap said to me, he goes, "Well, he had the hump. Let's put it that way." And but he did. You know what I mean? I only posted two comments on his YouTube channel out of 200,000 views, and he blocked me. And the thing was, he actually did change the description and put on there, but they still came afterwards, blah blah blah, which is a good thing. But like, I think people have got to be aware of how much they will still keep coming at you.
Well, I think it is a little bit disheartening when you watch a video like that, and the guy in it was really good. The Scouse guy was really good. He handled them really well. He kept his temper. He was very calm. I thought he presented himself very well. The bailiffs just showed themselves up for the scumbags they were. I mean, the way they're behaving, and they're completely unprofessional. You know, saying things like, "I'm going to knock his fucking block off" and all that stuff. Yeah, they just look like a pair of thug idiots. And he came across as like, you know, a decent kind of guy. And then you kind of read about, you know, well, it kind of, they did get evicted. So there was a bit of a victory, but, you know, I want to know, I'd like to know more about the story. I mean, they said that they're going to court now and that kind of stuff. But the police came in and then, like, really heavy-handed. They made the sergeant stand down, who was actually acting as a peace officer, and was quite decent about the whole thing, you know, and I think so. People look at that, I think, you know, that are new to it and say, well, okay, well, they lost, so, you know, why bother? But it's a start, isn't it? It's, you know, there's been progress from this kind of stuff first coming out to kind of people learning, you know, and getting
definitely a video of how it should be done. Definitely, yeah. It's something that should.
I mean, just standing up and saying, "No, you're not coming in. No, I want to see your ES 96 form." You know, knowing that is a step forward, because most people would think that, you know, bailiffs turn up, you have to let them in. You know, and actually no, and so this is the kind of start, isn't it? You know, and it may kind of be a while before a lot of this is unravelled, and as we do unravel it, and as people like you are out there unravelling it, you know, they're kind of retyping the rules while you're kind of pulling the kind of thread out. You know, I think it's going to be quite a kind of long and difficult kind of battle to kind of do this. I don't think it is just as straightforward as sending a few letters and things like that, is it really?
Never. My mate's just had a court case, and he actually took it to trial, and it's quite interesting that we learnt stuff from it. Even though if you get found guilty, the best thing you can do from these things is learn and take from them, because when you've got like these prosecution there that are willing to talk to you on a level about law and all kinds of things, because you're not storming in the courtroom going, "I claim all my unalienable rights," you're sitting there and you're talking to them because you've educated yourself on the legal system and how to do the procedure. Sorry, we've got a bit of background noise, but like the thing is, if you can talk to them, and we found this thing out about dishonesty. And what it is to be dishonest is something along the lines. This is not verbatim, but if you're doing something totally honourable, honest, within their realms and everything, i.e., if you're making your own promissory note, let's say, but like the rest of society would see that as deception or dishonesty, then it's still dishonest. So if you have to convince a jury, so how do you convince a jury? Like,
how do you convince a jury if it's stacked against you? Is that what you're going to say?
oh yeah. Well, no. You're in court, and you've got a jury there, right? So you've got the chance to say your words to them, and within this case, it's like the perfect example to educate 12 people that have been invited to the court. But the thing is, like when you're in there and you're reading their body language and everything, and it's not just you saying your stuff. The prosecution gets up and says his stuff.
Yeah, and then you've got to deal with a judge who's actually guiding, the jury as well, and kind of will cut in and say, well, actually, the law is this, and you can disregard what this person's saying, and so they can just override you anyway, can't they?
And that's what they seem to do. Do you want to, because we've started the second hour, so I really want to get into this GMO A Go Go and what it's all about.
Okay.
So would you like to explain like what it is, like what the film is about from the way it goes? Because not many people probably seen this from this radio.
Well, we were gonna kind of do something on Codex Alimentarius, which we kind of talked about earlier on, and then there's been so much kind of stuff around GMO, which is genetically modified organisms, and basically the companies, thanks to the Supreme Court, companies can change the gene in seeds, in plants, in crops. So they produce a bacteria that destroys the stomach of insects that eat it, but apparently are safe for humans. And also they can resist herbicides. So basically it's having the herbicides and pesticides kind of engineered into the food, and then that goes out into the into our kind of food chain. Basically, it's to save money, but on the other side of it, the Supreme Court has granted intellectual property rights, IP rights, to companies that are making changes, and then so if you want that seed, you have to pay for it. You're not allowed to save your seeds. So it's giving companies control of food, which I think is a bit worrying. And then you've got kind of cross-pollination as well that can happen. So if you've got a crop of organic kind of corn or something nearby, or papaya, or whatever kind of GM crop could be.
It will come down to everything, won't it? Everything will come under this like GMO like mutation of breedings, and they'll own everything, won't they?
Well, I think you'd only have to engineer it into a few crops to kind of get into every kind of bit of food, because like stuff like wheat and corn are refined and used in so many different ways, in so many different kind of foods, that you'd only have to do a few crops to get into absolutely everything in the food supply, and so they control it. And if you've got an organic kind of crop nearby and there's some kind of cross pollination by the wind or insects or whatever, because that gene has moved from their crop into yours, not that you planted it, it's just drifted in, you then can be prosecuted for intellectual property theft, because you're growing their crop, basically, because nature has kind of cross-pollinated into it, and I think that's really worrying, and and quite scary. And there's a huge kind of thing going on all around the world. It's not as much. I mean, to be honest, it's not as big a problem in Europe as it is in the US, which is kind of a real big problem at the moment. And there's a big thing going on in Hawaii right now because Hawaii are. There's a lot of protests. Again, you don't see it on the news or anything like that, but thousands of people are protesting against GMOs in Hawaii. There's an organisation called Babes Against Biotech, and we've heard from them. They're giving kind of speeches to the Hawaiian kind of council or Congress and fighting for labelling. And the thing is, there's a big resistance to label these kind of foods. So if something has genetically modified food in it, they don't want it labelled. Now, if it's safe and it's okay, why wouldn't you want to label it? People should have a choice. So I'd want to know if I'm eating something. I mean, I tend to eat organic now, to be honest, and I stopped eating kind of red meat when the whole BSE thing started, and I'm really glad because I would have been eating beef and horse, but. I think it's worrying. It's really, really worrying, and so that's why we kind of did the film. And it's not attacking a particular company. It's just, again, and this is our kind of our stance, really, I suppose, is that it's just to kind of give the flavour of the concerns, and a lot of concerns have been raised. I mean, Danish pig farmers have apparently noticed that their pigs were getting sick because they were giving them GMO feed. And they were kind of, getting sterile. They were getting very sick. They started giving them non-GMO stuff, and they started to get well again.
They're putting all this basically manky food out there. It's got no nutrients in it. What's this doing to us?
Well, exactly. I mean, a tomato that's been changed or corn that's been changed. I don't think is it corn? If you change the gene, it's something else, isn't it? If it's got a pesticide or a herbicide built into it, is it the original thing? No. I mean, nature does reassortment through kind of pollination, and the genes are changed, but it's done naturally. And I think just kind of jamming genes into stuff. And there's a Hungarian geneticist who was based in Aberdeen, and he was doing work up in Scotland. And he was doing tests on rats eating genetically modified potatoes, and after a few generations, they become really sick, sterile and ill after a few generations. So does that mean that in a few generations of people eating it, they're going to start seeing the same? Well, I think I've heard things like, GMOs have been around for 20 years. Well, okay. So what's happening with people now, health-wise? How would you describe it, Dom? Would you say that there's an obesity crisis? Would you say that cancer has gone through the roof? Or the diabetes epidemic? How do we know that is that linked? I don't know, but how do we know it's not? It could be questionable, couldn't it? That this is all kind of tied into that. Well, there's some testing done, more testing, and I think it's scary. But even if you dismiss all that as kind of conspiracy bollocks and kind of fear mongering and all the other stuff. Companies should not own food. It belongs to the planet. It belongs to the humans. We are of the earth. That is of the earth. Belongs to us. It's not. It should never ever belong to a company. And once it's out there, you can't recall it. You can't undo it. And that, I think, is terrifying and terrible.
Now, this is the thing. What do you think about all the natural herbs that are out there, from St. John's wort to... Well, there's millions and millions of herbs that you can pick.
Well, St. John's wort is meant to be a natural antidepressant, rather than using a serotonin reuptake inhibitor like, some of the popular ones that are meant to also give you psychotic breaks. Have been some of the side effects, or give you suicidal kind of thoughts. A lot of people, like the school shootings in America, you find that a lot of them are on... that have gone crazy and kind of gone out are on serotonin reuptake inhibitors that basically force serotonin back into the brain to try and level out your mood because apparently being depressed, your serotonin levels are lower. So St John's wort is meant to act as a natural kind of balancer, a natural antidepressant. And there was a lot of stuff in the newspapers where it was kind of discredited, and so well, it doesn't really do anything, and it's just a bit of an urban myth. And one of my friends looked into it and found that one of the studies was done by a company that produces a large amount of antidepressants.
That would make sense. It is about the money, and there's all sorts of cures out there that cost next to nothing in fiat currency. Yeah. And you can literally go around curing thousands of people from all kinds of things. But they don't want that. They want to make billions out of keeping people sick. But what the point I was getting with all these, just even like lemon balm and lavender and nettle even. Now, what I've been noticing is they want to register these herbs because what they're saying is they don't want to lose this information, and they want to know which ones are safe and which ones are not safe. And to me, if we've never lost that information in our lifetimes, why, by registering them, do you think we'll ever lose it? Yeah. And to me, if you register that, it becomes capitalized and owned, and people can control it.
Are you talking about Codex Alimentarius?
This is what it sounds like to me, but what I was actually talking about is the little hippie festivals in the UK. No, I'm not joking, right? Now, the little hippie festivals that I went to last year, they've all been controlled by health and safety, and do this and you've got to do that, and you've got to talk about this and you've got to talk about that. And I'm noticing that they're getting people in like herbalists that are talking about stuff and how to make tinctures and all this sort of stuff. Really good stuff on a level. But then they'll slip it in that, oh, well, we have to register this.
What do you mean register?
Register every herb and all the rest of it.
But register it with who?
It'll be with some standard, some body. Government run, government owned.
Yeah, well, what we should do is give them all a dose of ayahuasca. That'll sort them out and show them the power of plant life.
I don't know. I think some of these people, well, I don't know. I think the people talking actually don't, you know what I mean? They're there to do their talk and put their stuff out there, some of them. But what I mean is the people that are running these festivals are so under the thumb from the system now. Like, they're frightened of getting their festival shut down and not making money. And I've looked at the festival circuit I've done everything myself by trying to be in a nomadic tribe to starting own communities. And it's like bloody hard work. It's stressful. It's sometimes not pleasurable. But where was I going with that?
Well, we were just talking about kind of companies owning food and natural health. I mean,
this was it. Yeah. And at the festivals, like, you've got every person there at these festivals with the right knowledge, the right skills, the right equipment. And the reason that they don't actually go out and live that lifestyle 100% because they've got to go back to work on Monday, Tuesday morning and sell the idea of it. And that's a real oxymoron.
Well, the other thing is about that as well. If you could cure yourself of certain things, then by growing your own stuff, rather than paying. When you kind of go to a doctor in this country, in the UK, and get a prescription, even though you're paying £7, if they're a fund holder. As I understand it, if your doctor's a fund holder, they could be paying, especially if it's chemotherapy or something like that, hundreds of pounds a dose, for that. But and so the profits that are made out of drugs are huge. And I've got complete and utter first-hand experience of drugs completely toxifying a person, sending them doolally. And ruining their life and their health for kind of 8 or 9 years, and then the medical profession turning around and saying, actually, we're gonna get this person off all those drugs, and they come back to life. You know, their kind of personality is back by who they were. So because we stupidly believe that the medical profession, and it does have some good, it does do some good, but it hasn't got all the answers, and I think it should be presented as, people should be aware of that, and there should be some honesty around that. You know, it doesn't have all the answers, and it does get some things wrong, and you've only got to look at, the Staffordshire hospital that killed hundreds of people, because, anyway, don't get me started on that, but you know where I'm going with this. So, drugs aren't the answer. The medical kind of profession and the pharmaceuticals aren't always the best things,
Well, I think this is the way it's all done. They've got control of so much in the world by food. You know what I mean? It's like people are not eating real food anymore. If they're eating...
People believe it as well, Dom. I mean, I got some really good information of somebody who is very, very high up in the natural kind of health field. Someone who's a kind of complete expert, a real expert, and very well known in their field. And I managed to have a really good conversation with this person, and got a few kind of healthy substitutes for this person that I was referring to earlier that was made toxic. And this person refused, said, "No, I won't. It's not a pharmaceutical, so I don't know that it's safe." And that's how conditioned people are, unfortunately. I've got this like natural kind of inert stuff that would help, but they've had years of being kind of toxic on drugs, but they will still refuse to take the herbs and still stick with the drugs, even though the experience has been that it's made them kind of a bit doolally and made them ill and made them sick and made them dizzy. They will still choose the pharmaceuticals, and that's conditioning, and that's what happens.
Well, the thing is, most, if not just near enough, all of pharmaceuticals will be synthesized from nature.
Yeah.
And engineered and modified and all kinds of mercury, formaldehyde. Yeah, these are not things that you want literally injected into your body. And if you had
the whole vaccine thing as well. I mean, I know you kind of brought it up earlier, but that there's kind of an oil put into vaccines that acts as an adjuvant to actually make it cheap. So rather than putting they can put less genetic material into a vaccine, and the oil acts as a kind of immune exciter. But it can, and that's what can actually cause autoimmune kind of problems in vaccines. And I know people that have never let their kids have any vaccines, and their kids are very healthy and well, and don't have any kind of problems. And they haven't had any vaccines.
Well, we all know what vaccines can cause and what they've got in them. And this is the thing. How have they blagged the world? Are we expecting the plague or saying, all right, yeah, but if there ever was something like that, they'd put it there anyway. It's like it almost looks proven that the swine flu vaccine was manufactured and pumped onto the nation.
Oh, just so you know, on the well, you might have already heard it, but apparently that's back in the news. I heard on the radio today that a woman somewhere in the UK is in intensive care with swine flu. So it looks like that little number's winding up again.
Oh, right. So this is the February colds when people get sore throats and a runny nose, and it's like, oh my God, it's swine flu, right? We've got some Tamiflu for that.
I was going to say, Donald Rumsfeld must have a new batch of Tamiflu that needs shifting.
I don't think he's got a new batch.
Yeah, or the old batch never got shifted before. Yeah.
Yeah, they're holding on to them. You know what I mean? They'll be selling them down the line because like people really didn't fall for it.
Yeah.
This is the whole thing, and then the system knows, and they can see what's going on. They can see that people are not filling out their Lockheed Martin census forms anymore en masse, and people have put bullseyes upon themselves and sent back letters in Freeman style, so they know how many people are getting really rebellious, and they know where they are.
Yeah. Well, have I told you my little story about the TV licensing?
No, go on.
Right. I don't have a TV. I don't watch TV. I hate TV. I was at home and there was a bang on my window, and I at first I thought it was like my neighbours making a bit of noise. And I realised it was a window, and then it was a knock at the front door. So I answered the door, and it was TV licensing. What's your name? I went, none of your business, mate. And he said, how long have you lived here? I said, none of your business. And he said, right, you're going to court. And I said, can you just hang on a minute? And I went to get my phone to film him because he didn't know who I was, didn't know how long I'd lived there, didn't know whether I had a TV or not, but was saying I'm going to court. So he was clearly threatening me and trying to get money with menaces. So I went back I got my phone and I went to say, right, now you say that again. And he'd gone. So I kind of went outside, walked towards him, and he was walking away. I said, can I talk to you? And he started running, and he ran off, and I just kind of, without thinking, I just kind of jogged after him. And I said, no, I want to talk to you. And he started screaming, help, help, please.
No.
So when they come round, they're thuggish and bullying and horrible. But as soon as you kind of stand up to them and you're not intimidated, you're not frightened, they're pathetic little weasels.
Well, yeah, the thing is, the ones lower down the ladder of perceived authorities, they're the ones that can really get upset when you're actually showing them that we are all equal, truly, and there's no need for you to act like a complete and utter arse. And especially if you film it, it's like now. Huh?
They don't like being filmed, do they?
No, but it puts it's a bit of programming, you know what I mean? There's CCTV everywhere, so everyone's being filmed at every moment. But when they're trying to put this programmed authority onto you and you whip a camera out, it's like it stops them or changes them, and it's how you deal with that matter. And I've made many mistakes trying to be me, but it's never really a mistake, you know what I mean? Sometimes I've said things and then like it's ended up being a moody conversation, and that's the last thing I really want. But at the end of the day, on the bright side, they're taking me into a police station, and these lips of mine, they just don't stop moving, and they actually agree with me by the time I'm leaving the station, and I get quite a good response. Even when, like, one of my most hit videos online, I think it's called Arrested for Asking About Common Law, and there's two parts to it, and in the second part, he's really, like, broken. I've you know what I mean? I've really done his head in. And the second part, he's saying, well, what is your name? And I say, well, do you have any proof that I should have such a thing? And the poor bloke, he actually turns into a bit of a stumble bum. But I have met him since, and since then, he said, well, yeah, you got one up on me on the day. And it's like, well, this is the thing. It's the system. It's just corrupt, blah, blah, blah. And I had a good little conversation with him. And the thing is, they're looking into this after we talk to them. So when you're planting these seeds, and then like they're going off and talking to several other people about it rockets through a station. A few of them will look it up online. Some will look it up some more, and then other people will pass it on. Now, we're going to find... I do actually have hope in humanity. It's something that I think is going to... There is change. There's only change. But for the betterment of humanity, I think things are going to go good, because people like yourself are out there exposing, like, even things down to the food and how they're raping people of their nutrition and taking things away from us that it's not even a right. It's what we should have.
I think that the system wants people that, you know, work, and even if it's a menial job, you know, you're working, you're providing a service, you pay tax, and you drop dead before you claim your pension. And I think I don't know. I just think because this stuff, especially with the GMO stuff, is so heinous, and the courts are on the side of it. And there's the real revolving door between the kind of regulation bodies and the companies. You'll have a former VP of a company moving over to a regulation body or becoming a SAR that oversees it. And so I think there's a real conflict of interest there. And so the state is obviously on the side of it. And I think, wouldn't that be, from their point of view, wouldn't that be great? So you have kids, they work, they pay their tax, they drop dead at 64, 65, and then they never claim their pension. So, it's a nice little system. Why this isn't for food security. And that's what they say. The population is exploding. We need to feed people. Well, sustainable farming can do that. And it won't destroy the soil like the mono farming does. Where you just grow one crop over and over and over on huge areas of land, and so you strip all the nutrition and sort of basically the soil's dead and you can't grow anything. If you have crop rotation, then it puts the kind of nutrients back into the soil and you can grow other crops. So that's another aspect of it that I think is worrying. They feed cows corn, which they don't naturally. I mean, you never see cows grazing corn, do you? In a field, they eat grass, and they put them in such huge areas that they're literally knee deep in their own shit. Yeah, I think there's a lot to worry about there, and I do think that is it a bit. They want a nice little kind of system where you're born, you work, you pay your tax, you die before you claim your pension, and then that's it. Next round, keep having kids. I don't know. Does that sound a bit ranty or cynical? I can't see any logic in having this kind of system unless that's what they really kind of want to do. It's definitely not for the betterment. They definitely don't have the interest of feeding humanity at their heart. I mean, so...
Well, it's a covert slavery, as I said, and we're a slave race for other people. Well, psychopaths, isn't it? Well, there's been some questions in the chat room, and somebody wants to say about judges' reactions when they hear about this. And the thing is, it's different. It depends what sort of approach. Like, I've had a QC sit there and had a very pleasant chat with him, and I was actually a bit gutted that I didn't film that one. And but there's been other times when I see somebody in court and he was trying to claim this master title. The judge just laughed at him basically and said, "Well, sit down, Mr. Davis." And like when he sat down, he sort of like looked over his shoulder with little puppy dog eyes at me. It was like, I just thought, what I mean? I knew this was going to happen, and I kept telling him, right? The thing was, he was trying to use his own child to defraud Staffordshire Council by saying that the kid was in the house and it was a faulty meter. And it was all proved to be bollocks, basically. And then he starts attacking the council with, like, serving all these nonsense, like, letters and notices and fee schedules and all daft sort of stuff, claiming to be a master. And he got taken to court and this order served upon him. And this is the whole thing. It depends on judges' reactions, really. If you're going to go in there totally unhonourable and act like a complete tit, which I've done myself, you know what I mean? I've gone in there and started saying, well, I claim these rights and claim them rights. But since, like, a few things have happened in my life, there's ways I can deal with a court case a lot easier, a lot simpler. So
what was the turning point for you? What made you go from being a bit of a kind of tit, as you said, in the court, to actually, understanding the honour bit and then working that way?
Just learning that this corruption, it's blinded everyone, including ourselves, because we go out and try out a lot of this information and none of it actually works. Well, not none of it, sorry. You will find remedy in law. These solicitors that know how to play the game, because it is a game, it does have a body of rules. You've got to sit down and you've got to look through a lot of books and understand that this game is all about ownership. This is the simple bit. This game is about ownership, and it's about not making any claims. When you make a claim, you're liable. Now, you can go in there and you can say, I believe I'm an annulus curiae. So a belief is not a claim. It's like a wish. It's not real. It's allegedly. I'm Amunus Curie or something like that. I believe there's been a mistake. I wish to seek remedy in the way of a proper notice. Now, when you're saying something like that, Amunus Curie is actually a court procedure, and it's defined as an interested party, but not the person. So I was like, that's ideal, because the person is just a corporation as it's legally defined, a fiction. It's not who you are. You're not really the name, is the way I see it. And you believe there's been a mistake, and well, the mistake could be seen to be that they want you to represent this name. How can you be a name on a birth certificate when it's Crown copyright? How could I be liable for something that's copyrighted by the Crown? And then how could they serve somebody a proper notice if you're not claiming to be a name and you're not signing anything and you're not being part of that jurisdiction or that system? That's how I've dealt with it. And
but people don't understand the subtlety of the actual the contracting. So it's you by like you said, with that guy sitting down, he's kind of he's accepting that position, isn't he? And he's kind of creating the contracts by doing that in court. He's not the master because he's sat down.
Well, that's it. He's accepted one of their orders, and it doesn't matter what you say in there or anything really. It's how you say it and how you deal with it. And you're right, sitting down is actually comprehending and being subordinate to their system. And it's not about what you know as well, because it is very simple. It depends what you're playing with, what you're gambling with, because this could be like a driving offence, your car. You could be your home you're playing with. It could even be your children that you're playing with, because these are the tokens that have registered and got labels tied to that system on it.
Has anyone? I mean, I've heard this a lot, and I know in America, with the same kind of movement, it's slightly different. But has anyone kind of traced back the birth certificate to it actually becoming like a stock or a bond? Is there any kind of evidence of that someone's kind of found?
When I was looking into all this stuff, and this was proper some time ago, the best information when I got right into it was creditorsandcommerce.com, and they've got a lot of audios on there, and that talks all about bond process. But when you're looking back at it, history, I believe it was something to do with, I might be wrong on this, Queen Victoria bringing the birth certificate or something, because like 1666 you had the Cestui v Trust Act,
right,
which is all about St Paul's and the Great Fire of London, and everything got burnt down. It's like, right, we need to start getting all your fictions in. And
is that when they kind of declared everyone as being dead?
Well, yeah, because they're saying they've lost a load of records or something, I believe, isn't it? Like St Paul's registrations and all the rest. So this was created to say that you're dead and lost at sea, and you've got 7 years to prove that otherwise, which is saying that in a courtroom could get you sectioned, really. It's same as the Treaty of Verona. I think there's something in that which states that the land is held in trust under the Treaty of Verona until a competent heir from God comes back. You start waving that one about in a courtroom and get a white jacket on and some buckles at the back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of its implementation, isn't it? How do you undo it without sounding completely bonkers?
Well, the thing is that they've threatened nurses on me a couple of times when I'm in the cells. They've sent them down, and if you feel like you're going to say something like shape-shifting reptilians or something, then don't say nothing, because they'll take anything off you. But if you can explain to them quite eloquently that, look, the way I see this is this whole system is corrupt, and if you have a look at the legal definition of person, it does quite clearly say corporation. And the thing is, if all your statutes and acts are acting upon that, then I'm not that, and I don't want to enter into this as a corporate state. If you can explain that in layman terms, very simply and calmly to the doctors, the nurses, when you're in these situations, because there's no point shouting and screaming and getting yourself in a tizzy fit, even when the point when they're bending you back and all the rest of it. What's the point on fighting when they'll just bash you more? That you stay peaceful, and that is so honourable. And there's been times when I've been strangled and just looked them in the eye and thought, what's the point? But that only took 5 seconds before I blacked out. And
Who strangled you?
well, the thing was, this was down at the Occupy movement, and the night that I was very, very public with exposing that all the money was going to climate camp. And do you know of climate camp?
I've heard of it only through you mentioning it and some other people. But is it to do around the hoax of climate change?
Yeah, basically promoting the fear that there is climate change and the only solution is more regulations and tax the people, tax the air they breathe, call it carbon tax. Oh, they've done it, right? So this is what they do.
Can I just cut in about that, just
Please
very
do.
briefly? Gore, you know Al Gore, the High Courts here ruled that his film, An Inconvenient Truth, had 9 glaring errors and could therefore not be shown in schools as a documentary because there were 9 huge errors in it. Also, he lives in a fucking mansion, this guy, on the coast. Now, somebody that's worried about rising sea levels, you don't buy a mansion on the seafront, do you, on the coast? He uses nearly he uses in a month what the average American does in a year in energy, and he also teamed up with somebody called David Blood, formed a company. So the company with David Blood and Al Gore was called Blood and Gore, which is a really kind of fitting name. And it was based, I think it was based in London to kind of bypass conflict of interest kind of regulations and stuff in America. And guess what they were going to be doing? Carbon credit trading. So he stood to be, very rich from this whole thing. And that made me very suspicious about the whole climate change thing. And then when the University of East Anglia got hacked and all those emails come out about hide the facts, basically, I just thought, no, I don't. And I know climate change denial is being kind of paralleled along the lines of the kind of what do they call it? The Holocaust denial. No, Holocaust denial. It's on the same. If you're a climate change denier, you're a kind of Holocaust denier. Well, I just think because of those facts that the man involved stood to make money. He made a documentary that's been ruled as not truthful. He uses more energy than the average person, and yet tells us we need to use less. And all these kind of things just make him very suspect. And if he's a front man for that, then I think it makes the what he's presenting very suspect.
Well, this is what was happening at Occupy. Their little shaky hand routines was all run by Common Purpose, Climate Camp, right? All the donation money was going to Climate Camp. Oh, we wasn't hiding that information, no. But the thing is, you do put everything in plain sight. But let's have a look at stuff. You know what I mean? Let's see what's going on here, because I was seeing thousands a day go in there, right? And it was like, where's this going? Because the food is coming out of bins. There was a lot of donations, don't get me wrong. So all the food was donated or out of bins. And I would like to see the accounting, because I don't think that actually exists for the first couple of months. They couldn't show that. And all this money was going to Climate Camp, promoting that sort of agenda on the underline of it. And there was a film going to be filmed there. And they didn't film it because some really good pals of mine came down and they had their little leaflets ready on the climate change hoax and questions and answers and all the rest of it. And the people with their dodgy film, Crisis of Civilization, it was like, they said, oh, we can't play it, our laptop's down. And it's like, well, I've got a laptop you can use. And they were like, no. It's like, you know, when you can expose them on their own platforms that they set up to promote their own propaganda. This is what I'm going to do. Is like, when they do their big fronts and the rest of it, I'll go down there and just be me and start questioning what's what. And people that are like manipulating like these, and it's going to happen this year. Don't you mark my words. They're going to try and do some really big things. They're trying to get people wound up on every level at the moment, whether it be bedroom tax, horse meat, GMO, lawful rebellion, storm the court. It's like everyone's like really getting out their pants about saying, and well, they've got control on absolutely everything. I believe is what they're doing. Even everything that we look into, I've had to evaluate myself of what I'm doing. And do I actually do things for the betterment of mankind, or could I be doing it harm for the mass of the society that don't know the law or how to deal with the legal system the way I do? Sometimes wonder.
Well, I think a good way, you know, if you've got a lot of knowledge that you have, and like I said at the start, you know, I really enjoyed the talk you did with Ceylon. But if you got together and actually condensed all your information between you and made it in a way that, you know, people could watch it and kind of absorb a lot of it in, you know, 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour, and it was all very kind of, I think that would be a great thing, you know. And then it's out there and people can pass it around, and you know, so kind of put down everything you've learned, and even with Ceylon, put down everything you both learned together, because you've got a lot of knowledge between the pair of you, haven't you?
Well,
and a lot of experience.
The other night I tried to get hold of him. I might even have a message from him, but I need to contact him anyway. But I've got to keep this under my hat. But one of the best documentary makers, well, probably the best one on the thing, wants to make a little 5-minute film, but I've got to keep that under my hat and not let anyone know.
Okay. Oops. Yeah, I mean, I think doing something like that would be pretty kind of cool, and yeah, it's a good way to get kind of information out there, isn't it? Really, I mean.
Because I don't know how to construct things like that myself. I know people find me quite intriguing. Like, I've only just started to learn to edit, and somebody said, "Well, it's about time we can cut the shit bits out now." And it's like,
what are you using? I mean, you can start with. I mean, for anyone that wants to kind of learn about video editing, you know, you can start with Windows Movie Maker. If you've got Windows, you've already got it installed. It's free with it. It's very easy to use. There's great tutorials, like step-by-step tutorials on YouTube. You can use it. It's like single-track editing, so you've got one track for video, one track for audio, rather than multiple tracks that you get in bigger kind of things. And it's a great way to learn. And you learn, you kind of get used to using that, and then you move on to a bigger one. And you can use Sony Vegas Pro, which is really good. You can download a 30-day trial for that for free. Then you've got all the Adobe products like Adobe Premiere, which is another great video editing software. And that's for the Mac and the PC. And that's free for 30 days. So if you've got a project, you could download it and do it in 30 days possibly. You know, and without paying.
What would you suggest for Linux?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I honestly don't know. I'm not a big Linux user, to be honest.
Well, when I hook up with you, I'll have to, like, I'll bring my laptop round and I'll show you the operating system. And I've got a little thing on there, and somebody said it's a bit like Vegas, so you could show me a couple of little hints and tips, I suppose.
Right, okay. Yeah. I'm going to find out about that, actually, in Linux. That would be a good kind of tip, actually, to know about that. Yeah, that's a little bit of a gap in my knowledge that I need to kind of find out about. But I'd like to kind of get some groups together, you know, help people kind of organise and find people, and then work in their own groups to produce their own documentaries. That would be great.
Well, do you want to get involved in this thing that we're going to start up in London? It's a little meet-up, and, well, it's going to be like open for anyone to turn up, just a little gathering of people same-minded to try and seek more solutions and offer the skills that they've got, like yourself. You teach people that, blah, blah, blah. It's like a skill share.
Yeah, nice little networking thing. Great.
And I want to do this in several different areas. I think networks like that would really bounce.
Yeah. Well, I'll get one going in London, and then once that's up and running, kind of move on to the next area and start them up. I think because there's loads of people out there that can do, and I know directly from my own experience, really kind of, and even if they're not into conspiracy theories, there are still people that are willing to kind of help, and a really good, if you want to do a kind of cartoon or a documentary and you haven't got any of all the technical stuff you need, I think a really good tip is to go to a nearest college or university. Find a course that's relevant to the thing that you want to do, so like animation or editing or whatever. Find out who the course director is or the course tutor, and email them and say, I'd like to kind of give one of your students some work experience. This is a project I want to do, and that's how I've found people, great people who are really good and really committed and really, really reliable. Yeah, I hasten to add. So you don't have to have a big budget either. You can get it done that way.
Well, that's it. That's part of the solution for me, is trying to find things where you don't have to use money at all. And there's a lot of things that are truly out there. Like I'm always hearing of little things. Like there was one the other day, which is in Lewes near Brighton, of a guy where if you turn up, he's there every Saturday with his little bicycle rack and his tools, and you can take your bike there and he'll do it totally for free.
Oh, that's lovely. I love stuff like that. I mean, that's really, really nice. And imagine what it does for that guy, what it must do for him, kind of his emotional health and his heart health, doing stuff like that, helping people out. He'll meet people, he'll network, rather than just turning up and handing over some cash. And I think that's really nice, really nice.
And there's somebody else that I've been in contact recently, and she's just done a book and she's been trying to give it away free to people, and it's just like got all this phenomenal information in it. And I don't know if she wants me to mention her name, so I won't. But like, it's just people that are doing things all over the place now that is inspiring other people to be more giving and more being yourself, and finding out skills from people and how to live with each other. Yeah.
Well, I think they kind of get demonized or labeled as hippies. I mean, someone actually called me a hippie not long ago because I was talking about this stuff to them. They said, "Oh, you're a fucking hippie." And physically, if you look at me, I look so unhippie, and I think I am unhippie. But
that's not you in the picture on Skype, though, is it?
Sorry? That's
not you in the picture on Skype, is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, you definitely don't look like a hippie.
No. I think people that do that kind of stuff, it's very loving and very nice and very good, and I think unfortunately, they do get these stupid labels put on them, which is a shame. But if we could find a way to network more of that, get more of that information out. I mean, there might even be that I don't know about, but
well, there is. There's already a few things that are going on, but like there was even a really great one that was in London that I used to love going to, but that they just got pissed off with all the infiltration of it all. But if you're sitting there and just focusing on solutions and the rest of it, they already know this stuff, but you need to be getting and meeting people of the same ilk anyway, so don't worry about them. They're always going to be there, and this is part of it. If you're doing something against this corruption, that they will recognise you, and they'll try all these kind of like dirty-handed tricks, and it doesn't actually bother me anymore. I think I do have a couple of narcissist traits, and one of them is actually not having any emotion to something that happens quite grilling to me in my life. Like I could sit there, like, I'll bring it up again, the guy that strangled me. It's like I could stand there and, like, just look calmly and think, what are you doing? And,
Yeah, I think that's quite a special kind of attribute to have. I think, you know, but the thing is, as soon as you start lashing out and reacting in anger, they've got you, haven't they? You know, even though that you've been provoked and you've been kind of assaulted, if you lash back, and that's the thing I find so unfair. Do you mind if I just go off on a little tangent here about the police?
Rant.
Okay, I was driving to work every month. They run this bloody operation, and we got 4 minutes, and it's basically stopping everyone checking their insurance and stuff like that. I was on the way to work. I was a bit late, and they pulled me over, and I was like, "Oh, bloody hell!" And they said, "Have you got any ID?" I said, "No." And so they gave me a load of shit. They tried to open the door. I locked the door. I said, "You don't need to get in the car." And he said, "Can you get out?" And I said, "No, I don't want to get out. Thank you." And he said, "Can I have your keys?" And I went, "No, of course you can't." And he got his ass out and kind of extended it and threatened to smash the window. So I mentioned about that he had no right to do that under pace, and he kind of and he stood down. But it would have been assault. It would have been assault, and I could have complained about this guy. He was complete meathead. He was completely kind of unreasonable, even in his, you know, kind of the job that he was doing. But if I'd have hit him back, or if I'd have reacted, I would have been the one. I would have been the one that would have been nicked. I would have been the one that was in the breach of peace, even though, and that's it. I don't like it. I don't like it that it's stacked against them.
Well, this is it.
Well, none of us do, really, do they? But do you know what I mean? I don't like it. So well done for you for not bloody reacting and staying calm, you know.
Well, I've had a time when a cop was trying to bend my finger, like, literally off my arm, and, you know what I mean? You got, like, a few of them sitting on you, and this is just not complying to doing a fingerprint. And they just had a wink and a nudge at each other and took me to the floor. And, I you know what I mean? I weren't struggling or anything. I just said I wouldn't comply. So they dived me to the floor because, like, I just gave him such a mind bender because, like, he was losing his authority, and he said, "Well, I'll put you in the cell then." I said, "Well, were you telling me that the cell's got authority and not you then?" It's just getting worse and worse. And then, like, when he's bending my finger back, I said, "Would you do this to your son?" He said, "My son wouldn't get in this position." I said, "I am somebody's son, sir."
Yeah.
And he stopped for a second.
Yeah, that's it. You jolt them out of that kind of robotic role, you know, when you kind of remind them that they're a human being with a soul, you know. Yeah. It jolts them out. Dan McDonald's just said that KDEN Live is the best video editor for Linux right now.
That is the one I've got. And there is a question that got thrown up earlier, commonly known as Dom. If you wish to cross the border to another country, how would you go about doing so without a passport ID? Now, I am thinking about doing this pretty soon. I've got my eye on a very fucking big boat. So I don't mind the idea. Of people have said when I've had my silly hats on that I look like Jack Sparrow. So all aboard. Maritime, go out. You're in national waters.
I want to hear about this.
Put your own flag up and have your own crew and see how that one goes. Anyway, that is it for commonly known as Dom Show on Dark City Radio. Tonight's been Kirk Rutter. Is that how you spell it? Rutter? Or...
Yeah, RUTTER. Yeah.
Brilliant. And go and check his films out. It's Meet Your Strawman and GMO A Go Go.
And Disclosure.
And what is it? Infomaniacs.
Infomatic Films.
Infomatic Films.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going on to the Bob's Backyard's Dark City crew. So enjoy the evening. Thank you very much for everyone for listening.